if anyone ever asks me who's the best player I've ever played with, it's Des Walker, you know.
When you had people like Stuart, Pearce in your team, and Steve Hodge, Nigel, Clough, some really good players. Des was man of the match most games.
He was definitely the best centre-half in the country, without a doubt.
And when you got Des as your right-hand man, then it makes it even better.
Whatever the future holds for Nottingham Forest, one thing is for certain: Des Walker's place in the club's folklore is secure. He burst onto the Forest scene in the 1980s and, fittingly, over 20 years later, brought the curtain down on a glittering playing career right where it started, at Nottingham Forest. He took centre stage for one last time at the City Ground in May 2005, when the club granted him a testimonial game that saw a Forest 11 meet an international all-star 11, and many of the biggest names in the sport turned out to lend their support. It was a proud night for Des, and made even more memorable by the fact that his sons Lewis and Tyler were the mascots. The occasion belonged to one man only, the chance for an extraordinary player to be honoured, and there were no shortage of people wanting to do just that.
There's few people in football deserve testimonials as much as he does. He's here for 10 years or something like that, and tremendous influence on and off the pitch.
How good was he, do you feel?
Well, I think when he left, I don't know if it was the season after we got relegated, and that's how much we missed him. Almost impossible to replace somebody like Des.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably the best centre-back that I've ever played with in my career. Best at reading the game, probably the quickest, and just an all-round fantastic player, and a great lad and a good friend, and just a pleasure to be here and take part in what, you know, I thoroughly deserved testimonial for him.
I actually played in Des's very final game for Forest. It was West Ham away. Unfortunately, I think we got beat 3-0 or 3-1 that day, you know, and we took a bit of a thumping in the second half, and I came on and made my debut as a substitute, and it was Des's last game, you know. I think I came on at 1-0 down, and we got beat 3-0 with 15 minutes to go, so it wasn't the best of debuts, you know, from my point of view, but I remember Des getting a special ovation from both the West Ham fans and the Forest fans, who realised he was leaving to go off to Italy in the next couple of months. And he was a special player throughout, you know. I mean, I remember reading people's books and that, and Teddy Sheringham was saying when he played with Des, he was man of the match 90% of the time, and I sat along these sides watching him. I didn't play that often with him, but he was, you know. That was a special thing when you had people like Stuart, Pearce in your team, and Steve Hodge, Nigel, Clough, some really good players, even Roy Keane at the time. Des was man of the match most games, and I think that's just shows his consistency in the game, and I think he's been consistent wherever he's played.
Yeah, we go back a long way, and it's a magnificent tribute to Des, and it's fully deserved. He's a good friend of mine. We roomed together with England, and obviously I kept in touch with him over the years, and he helped me tremendously whilst I was here at a short time at City Ground.
Just tell the story about when you roomed together for England for the first time, and the weekend before you've been kicking lumps out of each other, haven't you?
Yeah, that's true. You know, I mean, you hear a lot of stories, but that was true, and you could never beat Des for pace, so I used to try and get one up him by boot him or stick the elbow in his nose or whatever, but no, it's true, and Des is a tremendous player for England and Forest, and he deserves this occasion.
It was frustrating for me sometimes, because playing behind him, he'd be coming out sometimes for a ball, and he'd always nip in there and nick it away from you, because he was that quick. But as I say, he was the best when he was in his prime. I think just before he went to Sampdoria, he was definitely the best centre-half in the country, without a doubt.
That month you had with him as your right-hand man, you forged a friendship that's going to last a lifetime, so you said in the programme anyway.
Well, I'd like to think so, and I speak to Des 2 or 3 times each week since we left, and I'll honestly keep in touch with him. He's a good friend, he was a good ally for me. He taught me all about the life in Nottingham, and it was quite a good life, and I quite enjoyed it. And when you got Des as your right-hand man, then it makes it even better.
So as a youngster growing up in Nottingham, you will have followed the fortunes of Des Walker, and I'm sure you admired him as a player.
Yeah, definitely. He was definitely one of my role models as a youngster. You know, he was a top player, and also being a Nottingham lad, also, you know, it was nice to watch those.
You just missed out on him here, though, didn't you? You left for Newcastle just about the same time as he arrived for his second spell as a player.
Yeah, as he just came back, I just left, but you know, I was still pretty in touch with the club, and came back and even had a training session with him and that, you know. So, you know, it was still, you know, quite easy to see him play and stuff. So.
You won't ever have played against him, but how good do you think he was?
I believe he was exceptional. You know, obviously You know, if you play football, you know football, and you know, I've been watching Des play. You know, it was exceptional, and not just from that, but from what other people have said also.
You've played in the Premiership, you've played in Europe with Forest, you've played for England, of course.
Yeah.
How does he rate as one of the best defenders that you've played with and played against?
Well, I keep having this argument with Des, and I keep saying he's up there as one of the best, and I'm not getting too much argument from Des because he quite agrees that he was. And he's right, you know. When you're one of the best in the world like Des was, you don't need to be modest about it, you know. You can tell people you are, and that's what makes a special player, the confidence that they have inside them. And when you meet him, he has that as a person as well. He's a very, very confident person. And he probably was. He was up there the best in the world at the time. It's as simple as that, you know. And you can only be as good as what your era is. And Des was that.
Forest players, past and present, were included in the Forest 11, while the likes of Les Ferdinand, Andy Cole, Ian Wright, Tim Flowers and Jermaine Pennant lined up for the International All-Stars. Stuart, Pearce and Andy Reid were given the jobs of captaining the two sides. Pearce led the Forest 11, while Reid took charge of the International All-Stars. The game started at what can only be described as a pedestrian pace. It wasn't long before Walker got his first touch of the night as he started a move that ultimately led to nothing, as for once Nigel Jemson was too quick off the mark. The first chance of the game fell to Nigel Jemson, but the man who scored the winner for Forest in the 1990 League Cup final failed to test goalkeeper Tim Flowers with this header. The main attraction of the night, Walker, proved too wily for Birmingham's Julian Gray. Stuart Pearce remains as competitive as ever. Ricardo Schumacher found himself on the receiving end of a tongue lashing from Pearce following this misplaced pass, although perhaps it was a case of Psycho having his tongue firmly in his cheek. David Trutton fired over the bar after a neat link-up with that man Pearce. And when Psycho again provided another cross from the left, Jemson again failed to find the target. Andy Reid, back at the City Ground for the first time since he joined Spurs, tried his luck from distance, only for his miscued effort to be met by ironic cheers. Nottingham-born pair Steve Chettle and Andy Cole found themselves head-to-head, and it was Chet who won this particular battle. Ian Wright may be Arsenal's record goal scorer, but his predatory instincts deserted him on this occasion, much to the obvious delight of goalkeeper Tim Flowers. Wrighty again went close soon afterwards. Joey Barton hardly improved his career prospects at Manchester City by taking out his own manager Pearce with a challenge that was late to say the very least. Pearce played up to the crowd, but thankfully for Barton, he saw the funny side. Les Ferdinand threatened Mark Crossley's goal as the International 11 looked to draw first blood. He was off target on that occasion and wasn't even allowed to test Crossley as a trademark Walker tackle checked his progress. Nigel Clough blazed a goal-scoring trail for Forest in the 1980s and 1990s, and he came close to the opening goal on his return to the City ground. After another Wright miss, the Arsenal legend took matters into his own hands, borrowing referee Phil Joslin's whistle to bring the curtain down on the first half. The fans were no doubt keen to see goals in the second half. David Prutton, however, won't want to see this attempt at a crossfield pass again, although he'd probably blame the boots that he borrowed off his close friend Jermaine Genus. A sight Forest fans have sorely missed is Pearce celebrating a goal, and they got their wish as the former England skipper bagged the game's opener. Reed blasted over the bar from a Jermaine Pennant cross as the international 11 looked for a quick-fire equaliser. And Nottingham-born Pennant saw another cross from the right go begging as it flashed across the face of Crossley's goal. Pearce lashed a shot against an upright with typical ferocity. While Flowers got himself in trouble with a rush of blood to the head. His fancy footwork failed to fool Bradley Wright Phillips, but the referee came to the aid of the floundering former England keeper. It was a case of the old guard being replaced by the new when Chettle made way for Wes Morgan, whose performances at the City ground these days are saluted by a song that Walker may well recognise. Reed finally got the goal he longed for to make it 1-1. A classic Ian Wone strike restored the Forest 11's lead. Woney is now in charge of youth development at Swindon Town, and it's a fair bet that none of his young chargers possess as sweet a left foot as the popular Scouser. And it was 3-1 when Ross Gardner headed home from close range after Wright had struck the bar with a lob that gave Barry Roach no chance whatsoever. Gardner was quickest to react and pounced on the loose ball. Wolves' Jolyon Lescott reduced the deficit when he converted from close range. The game, though, cried out for a goal from the main man. Walker went up front in search of just that, and with this finish showed why he only ever scored one goal in first-team football. Joey Bolton hauled the international all-star 11 level at 3-3. Before the crowd got their wish. As Walker found a way past Barry Roach with a neat finish that the likes of Ferdinand and Cole would have been proud of. The defending may have been generous to say the very least, far more generous than Des was throughout his career. The finish was, however, first rate. Des, though, clearly has to work on his celebration. Could Walker do it again? No, but then you can have too much of a good thing. The miss may have been criminal. It failed, though, to wipe the smile from his face. Chris Commons came close to embarrassing Crossley. While Chris Doig diverted a Prutton cross past the goalkeeper to make it 5-3. Prutton didn't score many goals during his Forest career and won't have been in a rush to claim this one from his former landlord. Roach may not have known too much about that, but he was able to cope with Wright's latest attempt to get on the score sheet. Flowers had been replaced in goal by Roach, but he rejoined the action as an outfield player and showed with this finish why he carved out a successful career in the game as a goalkeeper. Wright's desperation for a goal led to this comical penalty appeal. At least, though, it gave him the chance to show off his acting skills. Roach came out on top when he found himself one-on-one with Walker. Clearly a case of the Irish keeper not reading the script. Flowers, who played alongside Walker for England, made his mark with a tidy finish to make it 5-4. And his celebration showed how much the goal meant to him. Walker's final touch was inauspicious, although he'll no doubt blame an overhit pass by Wright. And after the curtain had come down on a 9-goal second half, all that was left was for Walker to round off the evening. As a goal scorer par excellence, talk us through that Des Walker finish.
Which one? He had a couple. The actual finish.
Yeah.
Well done. It was a good one, to be honest. There was a couple of times where he went in and Joe tackled him a couple of times. Didn't think he realised what was going on, but it was a really good night. The Forest fans really showed their class. They've had a really hard season, and they came out for a proper legend. You know what I mean? It was nice.
A fitting tribute, and there were a few renditions of that song that you hate to hear as well. You'll never beat Des Walker.
And it just brought back all the memories. But it's just such a fantastic ambassador for Nottingham Forest Football Club.
How good was he as a player? I mean, you'll be a perfect example. How good was he?
Easily the best defender. I always said to people, he's the best defender I ever played against. He's quick. He was sharp upstairs. He knew all the moves. He was. He was fair. He was very fair. Me and Des never had a problem in respects of argy-bargy stuff because we're very close mates. So it was really nice to be out there. There were some fantastic players out here tonight, and it was nice to be amongst it on the Forest team.
How much of a buzz does it give you to be out there in front of a crowd again?
Well, it's nice. My ankles. It can do 15 minutes top whack, and then I'm just literally just hanging on, but. Any opportunity to play, especially for my mate like that, it's a pleasure.
He's been a fantastic servant to football, Des, If anyone ever asked me who's the best player I've ever played with, it's Des Walker, most consistent, loved by the fans here, I think they're very loyal to the ones that they believe that have pulled everything for the shirt, and Des certainly fits that category, no problems, but credit to him.
Talks as good a game as he plays it as well, doesn't he?
He can chat, yeah. He's renowned for once taking off at Heathrow, and when he started an argument and when he landed in Sydney, he believed he still won that argument and was still talking, even though the Arsenal squad had fell asleep on the aeroplane. Renowned for it, but as I say, the amount of matches he's played in his career, not many will top that. And
eventually tonight, he took one away. He had a few chances, a few misses, but he took one away eventually, didn't he?
I think we all saw tonight, it was quite evident why he's never played up front in his career, to be honest with you. Yes, he had the odd chance, but I'm just pleased to say I was there when he scored the one that counted in the league.
What's it like for you coming back to this place and getting the sort of reception that you got?
Well, it's pleasing, but it's Des's night tonight, I've always had a good affinity with the crowd, but as I said, the supporters at this football club seem to, cherish the ones that they think have pulled for the jersey, and wear their heart on their sleeve, certainly Des is in that category, and the fans have been very kind to me over the years.
It's a combination of the amount of years I've been here, and it's an emotional night, and it was just fantastic to see all the people turn out, and all the players who've turned out to support me. I think it was more than I could expect, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of players who turned out who didn't necessarily have a Des Walker connection or Nottingham Forest connection, but they've made the effort to turn out for you, haven't they?
I think, yeah, and that's exceptional. They've done so well for me. Everyone I've asked has tried to come here, and the people say like Rio and Keeney have rang me because they're sorry because they got there in the cup final. They're not sorry they're in the cup final, but they're sorry they can't play. And I think Stevie Gerrard, he said he would still come for me, and people like Defoe who got injured, and it's amazing. They've made that effort to come up from London. They're not down the road just to support me in the game, and I think that brings a lump in my throat. That's something I'll never forget. All the things I've achieved in football. I think this night I'll never ever forget. It goes above everything.
And what about the crowd and the reaction of the crowd?
Yeah, they're amazing. I think I've been lucky that throughout my whole career here, the crowd have been behind me, and I think that tonight though, it's at the end of a year where probably it's not all they expected. The team's gone down, and for them to sort of have dug in their pockets and come that one more time after their disappointments, that speaks so much volumes for them. And for me, this club's always been a fantastic club and always will be. And with that support, they will never go far wrong.
What about the game itself? Wasn't the most competitive, but still entertaining.
Well, I think there's a lot of Premiership players out there, and they played yesterday, some of them, and they don't really want to get kicked. You know what I mean? They're saying, yeah, but I think you've gone in the days of managers are a little bit scared of the players getting kicked and their insurance and everything. So that's come to expect. There's never really a lot of tackling in testimonials nowadays, but I think we showed them where we can pass the ball, and we passed it around well, and we got a few goals in the end, and I even got a goal. So it was a fantastic night for me.
I was just going to ask you about that goal. There was a few misses before and afterwards, but you must have been pleased with it.
Yeah, I think, well, one out of 8 for a striker's not bad, is it? No, I was never cut out to score goals, unfortunately, but yeah, it was nice to get back in the net. It was nice to get back in it. I think a few of the team helped me out a little bit though.
It'll be a night that you won't forget in a hurry. You've got lots of memories from your career, but it's a night that you will live long in your memory, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a very, very special night. I can't really put it into words. I think it's just one of them nights that when you look back through your career in 20 years' time, that's a night that will stand out.